tell us first of all. I mean, I'm not really quite sure whether you've elected to be shown as to who you are, or whether that's happened or as a result of this. Just take me through that. Is that a conscious decision you've made?
Yeah, absolutely. The whole idea behind, sort of me being out there and whatnot is the public need. You need someone to interact with. You need someone to engage with. So in order for this message to get across that we're trying to get across, you need some sort of human connection, if you will.
But for a long time you didn't, did you? I mean, for a long time you remained hidden.
Yeah, that was one of the... Originally, it was to protect my safety and people around me's safety. But as time went on and I realised that I didn't have to protect them, they can look after themselves, it became part of... I didn't want my face at the time when I was sort of making waves and I was sort of first getting noticed. I didn't want my face and who I was to take away from the message and everything that I was saying. And the film, when you go from the medium of online internet, online videos where, you don't need a person, you don't need me in them videos. But when you've got someone explaining as to why I'm doing this and, and the reasons and the methods and et cetera, you need somebody to look at and that you can engage with and you can interact with and that's what, as humans, that's what we need. We need human interaction. So it made sense for me to sort of show my face in the film.
Just take me back to how this all started for you. How did you end up getting involved in this in the first place? Because I mean, it's been written about, I know, but you had quite a checkered past, didn't you, to come to this point?
Yeah, I'm a recovering heroin addict, drug addict. But when I say heroin, I should really say every single drug possible. I was really bad with...
At what age was that? Was that quite young?
Yeah, mate. From the age of 12, I took speed at the age of 12, and then I realised that speed had the opposite effect to what it have on normal people. They give a synthetic form of speed, I believe, to kids that are hyperactive. So I noticed by taking speed, it had a reverse effect. It actually calmed me down and made me think and more... and I realised that was sort of like an escape. It was escape from the person that I was. I didn't know who I was. I had no identity. I didn't, I was so confused as a kid. And then I discovered drugs, and drugs became my friend. And then I went into care. I was a care home kid, and my problems with drugs got worse, and eventually. 16, once I left care, I moved to Birmingham, and that's when I got involved with heroin and crack and other things and such like. This was a long time ago. This was back in the late 90s.
Well, this was, as I understand it. I mean, is this when you're no more than a kid yourself? Were you at that time?
I'm 33 now, and when I started taking drugs, I was 12, and then I was in care at 14, and then I went to prison. I was 18 when I went to prison. So
was that when you burnt down the school, the 10 year?
Yeah.
I mean, because that is the only reason I mention that. I'm not trying to score points with you, but
fine.
The only reason I mention that is that 10 years.
Yeah.
is a long, it's a long stretch for anybody to do. At 18 to the age of 28, I just wonder what kind of impact that.
Well, I'll break it down. Like I was 18 when I got locked up, and I did 6 years, 8 months. So I did six. So I was out when I was 25. The reason I got so long wasn't because of the offence. I think, if I remember rightly, at my sentencing, I only got 4 years for the fire, and that was extended by 6 years to protect public safety because I was really dangerous. So prison, I don't want people to think that I'm making a joke out of it. I'm trying to make light of the situation, or I'm trying to gain sympathy. But prison saved my life. Like, I knew when I set fire to the school, it didn't burn down. It was literally a cloakroom and 2 toilets. The damage luckily was contained. The whole school didn't get burnt down. It was a very, in terms of scale, it wasn't really a massive fire. But once I got arrested and I didn't get charged, and then I got arrested again and they charged me. And I thought that I've got something wrong with me. It was I knew I had something wrong with me anyway, because I'd been under, child behavioural psychologists and whatnot, as well as a kid. So I knew there was something wrong with me. And when I was in prison, I before I was getting sentenced, they said, look, there's no prisons for people your age at 18, 19, whatever.
Yeah.
So they said, we want to get you a longer sentence. So when you're 21, you can go to a prison called Grendon Underwood. Now, Grendon Underwood is a therapeutic prison. I know it's changed a lot now from when I was in there, like about 10 years ago, whatever it was. But basically, it's day in, day out therapy. So while I was in prison, as soon as I hit 21, I did 3 years in Grendon Underwood, which was constant daily therapy.
Did that help you?
Yeah, a lot. But it went from that, and then I got education and stuff. Because I mean, I'm quite bright anyway. I was always quite bright. I can't be taught. I can't do any. If someone tells me to do something, I don't like doing it. I'll do it my way or the highway kind of thing. Which is how I've made this so successful, and this works because I'm such a power control freak in a way.
I was just going to say, I just wonder. I mean, I'm no psychologist, but just to the casual observer, if you, and this is why I wanted to talk about your previous criminality, is that to a casual observer, you kind of think, hang on a second, then. So, isn't this you trying to absolve your criminality in the past? Is that what's going on here? Do you think?
In a way, yeah, absolutely. I don't even deny that. I've said that. In live streams that I've done and interviews that I've done. Part of it is, originally it wasn't started out as that. I never thought for a second that this would ever blow up, and also, again, going back to hiding my face, that was, again, another reason why, because I knew if people knew who I was, they would focus on burning down school, being a junkie, going to prison. They wouldn't focus. I guarantee you, 90% of the public would not have focused on what I'm saying had they knew previously who I was and what I'd done.
So what was the idea then? When you decided one day, as I guess you did, or you were kind of mulling it over for a period of time. What was it that made you think this is what I need to do?
It wasn't. It was nothing like that. It was an experiment. That's all it was. It started out, me and a friend were talking in my bedroom. I just split up with my ex-fiancée. This was 2009. And we were talking, and this is back when I used to drink. I don't drink now. I've been sober for 18 months. But this was back when I drank. And she was saying how she got asked for ID for booze and whatnot. And back then, I used to get ID. I still occasionally get asked now, but I used to get asked for ID. So we were talking about it. And I've got quite an analytical brain. I did first year and part of second year at uni, and part of one of my courses was psychology. And so I've always been interested in how the human mind works and how people react and act when they're told certain bits of information. So initially it started out, there was no thought of, I'm going to do this and I'm going to, try and change something. None of that. It was originally just an experiment. And then I revisited it again, completely forgot about it, revisited it again in 2011. And originally I was going to humiliate the people.
When you say an experiment to do, what was the plan? What was the conversation you had with your friend? What did you say you were going to do at that stage?
I said to her, and it's quite well documented this, what I said to her was, do you think if we put you online and said that you were a kid, would they believe that you're a kid? And she said, yeah, I think so. So I was like, right then, let's go on, random site, chose it, let's go on this site and see what happens. So that's all it was originally. It was just a case of, we just wanted to see if people would, we didn't think for a second that we'd get the reaction that we did off people. So what I said was, how about we get a guy to turn up and we'll just watch him out the window just to see if anyone would go to the lengths that they, to those lengths. And my mate was like, yeah, sound. So we did it, and a guy turned up, and he just parked on the street, and we were just watching him out the window. And then I did it a couple of times. I went on and I sort of had experiments. It was just little things. I knew I had something, but I didn't quite know what it was. And in the end, I thought, no, this isn't for me. Like, it's a bit dark and da-da-da. And then it got to then a couple of years later, I had a conversation with a friend. Something come on the telly. I was like, dude, I've done something similar to this. We got talking, and originally it was like I was saying earlier. Originally, we were going to humiliate and embarrass these people and make them, for public entertainment, with a serious message. But then after the first two, I think 2 or 3 we did, I sort of took a step back and I was like, this is really good. Like, these people are trying to have sex with children. If we want to be taken seriously, no one's going to take, me mouthing off to people or shouting at people. No one's going to take that seriously. No one's ever going to listen. So over time, I gradually sort of honed my skills, if you will. And obviously we got convictions. Originally probably wouldn't have got convictions. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you said originally, in a way, yeah, it is kind of, it is kind of me getting sort of, I am saying, look, I'm not all bad, but also that doesn't matter what you've done in the past. If you've got a scummy past like I have, you can actually do something and do something positive. And I believe that this is going to open a lot of eyes, and a lot of people are going to start checking what their kids are doing.
The big thing with all of this is, and we'll come on to Warwickshire Police in a second, Stinson, but the big thing with this is the fact that you are working alone.
Yeah.
And you're working without the support services and without the follow-ups and all the rest of it. And I mean, as a result of that, I mean, a man took his own life. That
was Wally. But whilst there was, I just want to point out for this and for anybody that's listening, the man that killed himself, there was nothing mentioned in coroner's court. I have not been associated or linked publicly to that man's death. That man was on police bail at the time. There's nothing on me for that man's death. If I was responsible for that man's death in any way, shape or form, the coroner's court would have ruled such a thing, and they didn't. I wasn't even mentioned in court.
In your own mind as well, is your conscience clear?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We did everything. That we possibly could do to safeguard this man, as we do with everybody. And as you'll see as you people would have seen in the documentary, men turn up, we immediately report them to the police. Statements are immediately made to the police. The police know within a minute of that person driving off, and that person, has turned up to meet a child. So, we cover it all. It's all covered. And this is what the police fail to tell the public, how it actually operates. The police are happy to shout off and say, oh, we don't support this, that and the other. But what the police don't say is the amount of cases that we've uncovered that during that investigation have been found that these men have been doing things in the past.
Where do you go with this now? I mean, as the TV program's on Channel 4, and as you say, this is a long way now from putting videos online and doing it all yourself. This has come a long way. Where is it going? Where's it heading, do you think, for you personally?
As people would know by now, I've released a Kickstarter project, which I am working on with the guy that does my camera work, my editing and whatnot. Whilst doing this, we have discovered and uncovered more things that I believe is a problem, and that isn't necessarily what's happening online. That is a problem. That problem hasn't gone away, and it probably won't go away for a long time. The problem is the police system, the Crown Prosecution Service, and the courts even are all seriously out of touch. But my plan is now with this Kickstarter project, is to gain funding from the public and whoever else, and to carry on exactly how I am, but working towards documentaries and short films based on, how the CPS work. The CPS is a broken system; it's not working properly, and that needs to change. And that's something that we're looking at.
To what end? No, I mean, to change the system? Is that what you? Look ultimately?
I want to change. There has to be a change in the system with everything, with the way that people, even taking it back to what I do right now, which is, pretty simple stuff, but it's a loophole within the system that people are prepared to exploit. I've exploited it, but I'm exploiting it for positive. I'm exploiting it, showing that, look, people, there's an exploit here that these sort of people are using. I'm exploiting it. I'm showing you that this is a problem.
As a final point, I just wonder now, though, whether, and I think I'm right in saying that when you started all this was before Operation U-Tree, and it was before the Savile investigation and that inquiry.
I think it was around the same time. I think.
And as those kind of revelations and that realisation, because the realisation that you're talking about, that you're saying a lot of people don't realise it. There were people that had their eyes open to exactly the extent of abuse that was being carried on, and then of course the situation at Rotherham where you've got gangs that are grooming youngsters as well. That landscape changing, has that do you think that helps what you do? Is that just going to make what you do maybe even more popular, more accessible, and people will want to see you do this more because they'll want to see people, they want somebody out there to try and catch paedophiles?
I think that is going to be something that the public are going to want me to, they're going to expect me. They do now. They expect me to catch people that they suspect are sex offenders or whatever. But I think, yeah. I mean, with the fact that the whole Savile U tree and everything that's going on with the Elm Guest House and all the abuse cover-ups and everything, I think that has paved the way for people to take this that I'm doing with my friends a little bit more seriously. I think had this documentary came out 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I don't think it would have had the cultural impact that I believe it's going to have. But I think it's I think now people have had enough of what's going on. I think people have had enough of things being swept under the carpet, things just being ignored. And I think now with the age of the internet, it needs to be used so people can't hide away from it. We have to people are hiding online and grooming and wanting to meet up for our children for sex. They're hiding online. So it's a case of now I'm in a position where I can sort of throw it out there a little bit.